Good morning everyone, it's Beer speaking. It's the 5th of April 2016. Time is about 7:50 in the morning GMT time when I made this video clip. Let's start off with the Euro Index. Last week we closed 119 pips higher than the opening. The 4 hour tells us to long, daily tells us to long, so if we honor it, we flip from the bottom to the top. Then we've got a zone starting at 110.13 coming down to 99.74. Price this morning, big 4 hour candle. We're getting into the trading zone. I'll be keeping my eyes on the 55 EMA here at 104. Psychological level just underneath that at 100, and then the 62.5 FIP at 99.93, where I need solid support for longs. Remember to drop down to the 60-minute, look for that MACD divergence. If you spot the MACD divergence, go to the 30-minute and wait for confirmation. Possible profit take back up to 190, and then even as high as 101.28. Possible counter trades, I will only relook to counter trade once we get to 101.28. Correlated pairs, which makes out the basket for the Euro Index, Euro US Dollar. If we have a look at this, last week we closed 259 pips higher than the opening. 4 hour tells us to long, daily tells us to long, so we honor it. We flip last week from the bottom to the top. Then we've got a zone starting at 12.96 coming down to 12.25. Earlier this morning we were in the triangle. Price is busy breaking the triangle to the downside. I will relook to go long from 13.06, psychological level of 13, and then this 12.96 where we have the 50% FIP. If we look to the left of the chart, previous support resistance there as well. Remember, 60-minute, we need MACD divergence. Go down to the smaller time frames to look for that trade. Possible counter trades, only once we get to 15.06 I will be interested for counter trades. Euro JPY, this one broke yesterday the 200 EMA at the weekly pivot point to the downside, 126.45. That broke to the downside. Earlier in the Asian session we pulled back to that level, and that was an M2 short. We touched that level, price drop. Currently we're at 125.63. It's a weekly second pivot point, so we're highly oversold already. If we look to the left of the chart, previous support resistance there as well. MACD is low, stochastic is oversold, so my thinking is that we will start getting support there. So look for possible longs again, and remember the weekly pivot point one broke to the downside. That used to be support, now it's resistance, so that can be your profit take area if we do get along on this pair. If you look at the pound or the euro pound 4 hour chart, last week we closed 113 pips higher. The 4 hour tells us to long, the daily tells us to long, so if we honor it, we flip from the bottom of last week to the high we made. Then we've got a zone starting at now I'm talking nonsense, 7.925 coming down to 7.878. Price currently going sideways. We can also maybe say in a little bit of a triangle here. We close those lines there. I will relook to long 7.925, 7.920, and even as low as 7.900, because we had previous support resistance in that area there. Possible counter trades, only will relook if price get to 80.77. Look at the pound US dollar daily chart, then I'm sitting on my hands with this pair, guys. We can see over the last month price didn't respect the 200 EMAs and the 55s. We whipsaw through it, and by the looks of it, it looks like we are trapped in a triangle on this one. If you look at the pound JPY 4 hour chart, now guys, pay attention here because we made a new low for the new members. On Tuesday mornings I FIP, okay, and when I did my write up, price was about at 157.47. Now we made a new low, so we have to honor it with our FIP. You can see there we made a new low, so honor it with your FIP so that the trading zone can move further down. And that's what I mean in my write up. When we make new highs or new lows without the pullback, honor it, follow it with your FIP so that the zone can adjust. Now if we have a look at this, 4 hour tells us to short, daily tells us to short. Last week we closed 142 pips lower than the opening price, so if we honor it, we flip from the high to the low. Then we've got a zone 159.73 going up to 161.16. In the trading zone, we've got a weekly main pivot point at 160.03. It's also psychological level. The 55 EMA is coming down. Let me just click there. There we can see it. 160.12, the 55 EMA. Look to the left of the chart, previous support resistance there as well. So that will be the areas where I will look to short. Currently, price is trending down, MACD is trending up, so we are having MACD divergence. Stochastic is oversold. We're hitting a psychological level of 157. So my thinking is that we get support here. I will consider taking a counter long on this pair. Aussie US dollar daily chart. I'm looking at the daily chart here, guys. If we flip, the 4 hour tells us to long, daily tells us to long, and we close 165 pips higher than the opening price of the previous week. So if we flip the daily chart, we flip from the bottom of this candle here to the high, we've got a zone 7415 coming down to 7261. Areas of interest, we've got a monthly mid pivot point at 7499. We've got a 200 EMA at 7462. So that will be my first area of interest. If we do break that for some reasons, 7415 is the 50% FIP. There's also a 55 EMA there. So anything from 7499 to 7415, we need solid support. If we do break this for some reason, next line in the sand, 7333, which is the daily 200 EMA. While we're above this 200 EMA, our bias will be too long. Currently, MACD divergence, price trending up, MACD trending down. So, early in my write-up, we were camping at 7600, which is the 4 hour 55. We broke that now to the downside. So, expect deeper pullback on this one. If you look at the Aussie JPY, 4 hour chart, this one also broke the 200 EMA yesterday, guys. We broke it, we pulled back, and in my write-up I didn't think that this will turn out to be M2 trade. We had that nasty spike now, we touched the 200 EMA and we're dropping again. My thinking for this pair, remember it's correlated with the Aussie US dollar, my thinking is that we will find support, and I will look at 83.17, psychological level just underneath there. At 83, I need solid support there. MACD is low, stochastic is oversold, so possible counter trades back up to 84.09. Remember, this is a weekly support 2 pivot point that broke now, so support turned into resistance. But as I said, 83.7, we need solid support there before I will consider taking a trade on that one. US dollar JPY 4 hour chart. Here's another one, guys. After my write-up, we made a new low, so honor it with your FIP so that the box can move a little bit down. Your trading zone will adjust to 12.02, going up to 12.89. Price also, for me in my book, oversold. MACD is low, stochastic is very in the oversold area, but there's still no candle formation that this one is slowing down. 4 hour tells us to short, daily tells us to short. So if we flip from the high to the low, that will be the zone. As I said, in the zone we've got the 55 at 112.16, 112.52. If we look to the left of the chart, previous support resistance in those areas well. So that will be the area where I will consider taking short. Possible counter trades, 110.08 is coming up. It's very close to the psychological level of 110. Stochastic is, as I said, oversold, so we need solid support there. Drop to the 60 minute, look then for that MACD divergence. Let's quickly have a look here. MACD is still trending down, so once we get support here and we go sideways, MACD is turning up, look for that MACD divergence and then the confirmation on the smaller time frames to take the trade. US dollar CAT. This one is interesting, guys. The 4 hour tells us to short, the daily tells us to short. We close 256 pips lower, so if we honor it, we flip from the high to the low, then we've got a zone 3071 coming down or coming up to 3178. Currently we're in the trading zone. Okay, MACD is a little bit low, stochastic is overbought. Okay, so all look good for this one to look for shorts there, but be careful. My thinking is we might jump the Earth and Sky trading zone for the week and go up to 3263, even as high as the double 303 level where the 4-hour 200 EMA is. Why? Remember, always look at the euro index and the dollar index. Here we have to use dollar CAT. So if you look at the US dollar index, we're very low on this one. Okay, so we're far out from the potential trading zone. So if the index pulls back all the way to the trading zone, even this 55 EMA at 95.11, this pair, the US dollar CAT, can follow, and we can break this potential trading zone to the upside and go to 3263. If that happens, 3263, 200 EMA at 3303 will be the areas for me to look for shorts. US dollar index 4-hour chart. 4-hour tells us the short, daily tells us the short. We close 175 pips lower than opening. So if we flip from the high to the low, we've got a zone 95.50 going up to 95.81 it looks like. Price busy pulling back. First area that will catch my eye is 95.06. The 55 at 95.11 is coming down. We had a bit of previous support resistance there, so that can be the first roadblock for this pair this week. That's probably also where the 58.2 FIP is, so take note of that level. 95.06, 95.11 for possible first area where we can find resistance. Well, that's me for the week, guys. It was a bit of a tongue twister after being off for 11 days. If you've got any questions, please pop in at the forum. I see there's a couple of new members, lots of older members that can help if I'm not available in the forum, so leave a message there. We will get back to you. Have an awesome trading week. Speak to you guys on Friday again. Cheers.